First interpreting session is usually one that interpreters do not forget. Today, I am taking you back to the very first interpreting session I had, which was a long time ago. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alhan. I'm an interpreter and children's author. I started my journey with languages and translation around the age of 15, and that was with translation mostly. However, at some point, I wanted to be an interpreter. And that was after I graduated from university. I was accepted into this interpreter slash translator position in a school. I was the link between the consulting team that was hired to help the school and the school staff. So the very first interpreting assignment or task I had was between the head of this consulting team and the school principal. At this point, I had done some translations for this consulting team, so I was familiar with some of the terminologies that were going to be used in this meeting, but I had zero experience in interpreting. No one had prepared me. I had no degree in translation or interpreting. And I thought, okay, I know how to translate. I have been translating for over 5 years. I can do this, or I have experience in this. Before I get into what happened in the session itself, I'd like to tell you that when I was accepted into this position, I knew that there would be interpreting sessions, but I did not know when they would come. They were organic most of the time. If the principal needed to communicate something to my team, I had to be there. If my team needed to communicate something to the teachers, I had to be there. The translation tasks were mostly very organized and scheduled, but interpreting, not always. Sometimes they were when there was a meeting, for example, scheduled, but when it came to day-to-day communication, nothing was scheduled. So I did not know when my first interpreting assignment would be, and as far as I can recall, it was not on my first day at work. So back to the day of the assignment, my supervisor told me, let's go to the principal. I need to talk to her about something. Students will be starting school soon, so we need to discuss something. I still remember the office that we were sitting in, the school that I was working at. We walk into the office. I speak my comfortable Qatari dialect with a principal. She's happy to hear me speak her dialect. We sit down. Now, mistake number one, I had sticky notes with me to take notes on them. That is a no-no in interpreting. I should have had a very comfortable note-taking pad to be able to turn the pages easily, to be comfortable with it, and have enough space on each page. But I had no experience taking notes. I had no experience interpreting. The interpreting session starts. The principal says a few sentences, or maybe it was longer. I don't remember. I just remember that it sounded too many sentences for me. It was too much. I was overwhelmed and I was like, can we keep it short? Can we do one sentence at a time? I really could not do more than that. So the principal starts again, says one sentence. I relay that sentence back to my supervisor, and this is how we continued the meeting. I didn't really need to take any notes because of how short the sentences had to be for me to interpret. Again, I talk a lot about this in my other videos, that the interpreting skill is really a muscle. If we stop training it, we'll lose it. And that was my very first experience. So there was no muscle at all, except for me knowing two languages and having experience in translation. For those of you who are really new to this field, who don't know the difference between translation and interpreting, drop me a comment in the comment section below and we'll talk about this in another video. How did I walk out of this meeting? Of course I was embarrassed. Of course I did not have the self-confidence that I walked in with. Of course I thought, oh no, I have a lot to work on. But I had just signed the contract for this job. I had nowhere to go. I had to learn and improve. And I was lucky enough to have this opportunity every single day to practice interpreting. I will take you fast forward, which was around 6 months after this incident happened. We had a meeting between the school staff, including the principal, my team, and the board of directors. Those who knew me in this school knew to speak shorter sentences, but people from this board of directors did not know that. And not everyone knows how to work with interpreters. The person who started talking, I think it was the chair of the board of directors, spoke for about, 2, 3 minutes. At this point, my memory was well trained. So with the school staff, everyday meetings, I didn't really take any notes. I was comfortable remembering and relaying back the information without taking notes most of the time, especially that many of the meetings I attended were presentations from my team to the school teachers. So I had to stand next to them and interpret as they spoke. They knew how to work with interpreters. At this point, almost everyone around me knew to give me shorter sentences, pause, wait for me to interpret, and so on. This chairperson did not know any of that. So he spoke and spoke and spoke, and I was taking notes. Once I interpreted what he said into English, it was the moment in which my supervisor noticed the shift. I had to. And it was a huge shift from that very first meeting to this one of my last meetings in this particular position. She was so proud of me. I was so proud of myself. It was just a proof that all it takes is practice and more practice and knowing your vocabulary and having the speed it takes to interpret information from one language to the other. So to summarize, what would I do differently now if I was going to go back and walk into my first meeting? Have my pens ready, more than one pen. Have a proper notepad to be able to take notes easily with a lot of space on the page. Have many pages in my notebook, make sure there is enough space to write, and ask about what the meeting will be about. Also, always give the introduction. Check this video to make sure how to give your introduction. Not everyone has an experience working with interpreters. They need to know what your role is. They need to know what's expected of them. So these are the few things that I would have done differently. Still, it would have been my first experience. I would not have the confidence I have now. And it's just normal to some extent to not be comfortable, feel a little shy maybe, and not get it all right. But if you do, then that's amazing. Keep on working on yourself and know that you will be better and you will get there. If you have done your first interpreting assignment, please share that in the comments section below. I would like to know how it was, how you were feeling, what you would have done differently. And if your first interpreting assignment is coming up, I hope that this video was helpful to you. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and see you in the next video.